to the entertainer talking sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with a mock draft, and this is going to be my first of many, mock drafts, I'm sure. Obviously, it's way too early. We don't know what happened in the combine. We don't know what's going to happen in free agency, but I wanted to start to assess the players, go over some team needs. I didn't do any trades in my first mock. This is more so an exercise to learn team needs and see where I think players are going to fall in this year's draft. So I tried to do the best I could for you guys. Hope you guys enjoy the video. And we're going to jump right into it. And we're going to start with none other than the Cincinatti Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals, I don't think I got to talk much about this pick. I think we know what they're doing here. They're going to take Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow out of LSU, the Heisman Trophy winner, standing at 6'4", 216 pounds. A guy that coming into the year, many had below a lot of these quarterbacks, whether it's Tua, whether it's Fromm, whether it's Herbert. He was not that highly thought of, but he had an unbelievable year. He's got a good arm. He's accurate. He's got great pocket awareness. And the thing that stands out to me most when I watch him play on film, great at extending plays and giving his wide receivers time down the field to, develop routes. The one negative I suppose you could say about Burrow when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals, I guess his age. He's going to be 24, but I don't really worry about that. I mean, quarterbacks play till like 40 now. Next up, we got the Washington Redskins. Another obvious pick to me. That's got to be Chase Young going number 2 to the Redskins. I mean, almost everybody thinks this guy's the best player in this year's draft, and when you watch him, he's unbelievable. 6'5", 265, capable of playing in both the 4-3 and the 3-4. He's going to be a great player for them, and unfortunately, as a Giants fan, I'm going to have to watch him play, and we're going to have to find a way to block him. But yeah, this guy's going to be a great player, and to me, the edge rusher position is the safest position to draft in the NFL. It's easy to transition. If you're great, you're usually going to be great. If you're great in college, you're usually going to be great in the pros when you're being picked that early. Go back and look at the last 5 drafts. Almost all of them were very successful at the NFL level. So Chase Young to the Redskins makes too much sense for me. The Lions were tough to draft for. Like I said, I didn't have any trades. I know that I've seen a lot of trades of the Lions trading down with the Dolphins. I had them standing pat there. And they go a lot of ways here. I did a lot of research on Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia uses a lot of man-to-man coverage. He loves to put his corner on an island, so that is why I haven't taken the best corner in this year's draft, that being Jeffrey Okudah out of Ohio State, standing at 6'1", 200 pounds, quick feet, great in man coverage, has athleticism to guard the best receivers. Sometimes he gets a little bit lazy and sloppy with his technique because he knows how good he is, but really good player. Another thing I wanted to say, there has not been a corner drafted in the top 5 picks in this draft since 2011, in the last 8 years. The last guy that was drafted in the top 5 was Patrick Peterson. So it would be a bit of a surprise, but by most mocks, he's going in the top 5, and I think he's going to be a great pro. Next up, we got the New York Giants, and I could have went a number of ways here. And I know half the Giants fans want Isaiah Simmons, half the Giants fans want an offensive line. And I'm not going to cry if they go either route. I know that both are important, and this is before knowing what they did in free agency, the combine, everything else. I look at what they've done the last 2 years, and I put my Dave Gettleman hat on. Dave Gettleman, our general manager, drafted a quarterback last year. The offensive line has been bad. They need to improve that offensive line. They have 3 holes on the offensive line. You have the ability here to take who you feel is the best offensive lineman in this year's draft. Yes, I love Isaiah Simmons, and if they take Simmons, he's a great player, but I haven't taken an offensive lineman, and maybe not the offensive lineman that you would think. I haven't taken Jedrick Wills, the offensive lineman out of Alabama, 6'5", 320 pounds. He is incredibly strong, great at run blocking, great technique, polished footwork in pass protection. He, to me, is the safest offensive lineman in this year's draft, and that, if the Giants are taking one that early, that is what they need to do. The only knock on him, from everything I've read pretty much, is that he's played on the right side. So we don't have proof that he could be a left tackle, even though many feel that he can be. If he could be a right tackle, that's fine too. We need great offensive linemen throughout the line. So you fill in a hole here. You get a big need for the New York Giants, and whether he's going to play on the right side or left side next year, I don't know if we get him, but I like him a lot. I think he's a really good offensive lineman, and I think it's a good fit for the Giants. Next up, we got the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins got 3 picks in the first round, and their first pick, I'm going to go with the most obvious answer, Tua Tagovailoa. Out of Alabama, 6'1", 219. We heard all the rumors coming into the year, the tank for Tua. They didn't have to tank. They're still going to end up getting their guy at number 5, and they probably will on draft night unless they trade up, or maybe they won't take him, but I think that they will. Another guy with a lot of great abilities. The knocks on him, he played at Alabama, so he had a great offensive line. He had great weapons. Some people say he needs to work on his mechanics a little bit. And, of course, the injury history. That's what you worry about with him. But he's got a very good arm. He's clutch. Yeah, I like him. I definitely like him. He's very accurate, good pocket awareness. Tua going number 5 to the Miami Dolphins. Next up, we got the LA Chargers. And the LA Chargers are going to need a quarterback as well. Phillip Rivers moving on. Will they take him at number 6? I think they're going to. They might not. They need to improve the offensive line. But they need a quarterback too. And I got them taking Justin Herbert out of Oregon. A quarterback that a lot of Giants fans thought we were going to take last year at number 6. And he goes number 6 in the following year's draft. He decided not to come out last year. He's a West Coast guy. He's going to end up staying on the West Coast in this scenario. And he has pretty much everything you want from a skill standpoint in a quarterback. He's 6'6", 225 pounds. He is incredibly athletic for a man of that size. He's smart. He's got a strong arm. The one knock on him that I've read a lot, sometimes he forces too many passes, similar to Daniel Jones. And he needs to work on his mechanics a bit. But overall, I do like Justin Herbert. He was a little underwhelming this year at the collegiate level. I still like him. I still think he's a really good fit for the Chargers. Next up, we got the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers could go quarterback, but there's already 3 off the board. They could trade up, and maybe I will do that in one of my future mocks. But in this mock, having them standing pat, I've got Matt Rule with his first pick, as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, taking Derek Brown out of Auburn. Derek Brown is a really, really good football player when you watch him on film. He's 6'5", 318 pounds, has a great motor, great technique, explosive for a big man, and he's very versatile. He can play both on the inside and the out. Now, I was kind of torn here. It was either Brown or Simmons for me here. Obviously, they have a hole at the linebacker spot as well, with Kuechly retiring, and you can't really go wrong with either pick. You could certainly go Simmons. I had them taking Derek Brown. Helps them in the run defense and getting after the quarterback. So I got Brown going number 7 to the Panthers. Next up, Arizona Cardinals. To me, if I'm a Cardinal fan, it's one of 2 positions here. It's wide receiver or it's offensive tackle. Obviously you got Kyler Murray there. You got the air raid offense. You want to get this guy as much help as he can. They've got a very bad offensive line. You could certainly go Judy here, and I wouldn't bat an eye if they did. But I got them taking Andrew Thomas, who a lot of people think is the number 1 offensive tackle. It's like splitting hairs. I think there's a lot of good offensive tackles in this draft. Andrew Thomas is certainly one of them. He was a 3-year starter at Georgia, 6'5", 320 pounds. Known as one of the best linemen, like I said, in this draft. Some people say he needs to work on his footwork, but one other thing I should have mentioned about Wills, and it's very similar here with Andrew Thomas, Wills only surrendered 1 pressure in his last 5 games in the SEC conference playing for Alabama, and it was very similar with Andrew Thomas. I think he only surrendered a hit or 2 all year for his quarterback and from. So really good player there, and I think it'll be a good pick for the Cardinals. Next up, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jacksonville Jaguars could go a lot of ways here. But in the end, I had them going with Isaiah Simmons. I think he's too good of a talent to pass up here. They kind of have a need at the linebacker position. Actually, a lot of people think that's their biggest need. Also, interior defensive lineman as well, which is why I would have had Derek Brown going there if he fell, because Marcel Darius, they're probably going to cut to save $20 million. But in the end, I have them taking Isaiah Simmons, 6'4", 230, out of Clemson. Really good, great player, great athlete, might be the best athlete in this draft. And he's a modern-day linebacker. He could do everything. He's great against the run, great in pass coverage. He could do it all. So, really good pick there, and we'll see where he goes on draft night. But that's where I have him going right now at number 9 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Next up, we got the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns last year obviously had very high hopes. New head coach Freddie Kitchens. They bring in all these offensive weapons, and everybody has them going to the playoffs out of the AFC North, and it didn't work out. And a major reason why it didn't work out was because of their subpar offensive line. They need to improve that offensive line. Obviously, they trade Zeitler to the Giants, and they do that. They improve it by drafting Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa. Huge upside with this kid, everything I've read. Now, a lot of people think he's better suited to play the guard than the tackle. He played the tackle at the college level. He's great in the trenches, very strong, former wrestler. I think he's really good. I think he's a step below the 2 offensive linemen I've talked about previously, but he's still a really good lineman, and he fills a need for the Browns. Probably their biggest need on that offensive line. So there you go. Now we got the Jets, another team that really could use offensive line help, but they also need weapons. And some of the best offensive linemen are already off the board. I just thought Jerry Jeudy was too good to pass up here for the Jets. So I got the Jets taking the best wide receiver in this draft in Jerry Jeudy. 6'1", 192 pounds, crazy athletic. A lot of people compare him to Julio Jones. If the Jets do this, though, they're going to need to address the O-line in free agency because it needs to be addressed. It was not addressed last offseason. Got to fix it. But Jerry Jeudy, to me, is too good to pass up here. Great straight line speed. May need to bulk up a little bit. That's what some people say. But overall, unbelievable talent and not really a hole to his game. And it's the same thing with this receiver who I got the Las Vegas Raiders, get used to saying that, taking at number 12, and that's CeeDee Lamb. Last year, the Raiders, of course, tried to address the wide receiver position in free agency and trades. They bring, and obviously the big name was Antonio Brown. And Antonio Brown obviously leaves. They still have Tyrell Williams, but they need another weapon on that team. CeeDee Lamb is a great talent, the best route runner in this draft. Some people feel is the best receiver in this draft. 6'2", 189 pounds, very fast. Gotta love him. And he's got height at 6'2", 189. Really good player. Next up, we got the Indianapolis Colts. And the Indianapolis Colts could go a variety of ways here. They could go quarterback for sure. There's been, it's come out that they're not in love with their quarterback, which I'm not shocked. He's not that good. And obviously Andrew Luck retired unexpectedly last year. So a lot of people think they could take quarterback. But in this situation, as much as I really like a quarterback that's still on the board, who I think might be the best quarterback in this draft, I'm not going to have the Colts doing that. I'm going to have them improving that defense with Javon Kinslaw out of South Carolina. A very versatile defensive tackle, capable of playing in both the 3-4 and the 4-3, standing at 6'6", 310 pounds. He is big and he is mean, and I like him going to the Colts there at 13. Next up, we got the Bucs, and the Bucs are another team that could potentially go quarterback. They got an offensive mind there in Arians. I think they're going to stick with Winston for one more year at least. I think they're going to at least franchise him. They could go quarterback, like I said. I would not be shocked here. But I'm going to get them a protector for Winston and potentially the future quarterback if they move on from Winston in the future. And that is Mekhi Becton. This guy is soared up draft charts. I don't have him quite as high as some other people might, but this guy is huge. 6'7", 369 pounds. He's just massive. The concerns are his ability to move, which is natural for a man that big. But in terms of just an imposing force and strength, there's nobody bigger and stronger in this year's draft. We'll see, if he's he might have to be shifted to the guard, much like happens with Eric Flowers with the New York Giants, but a big, big imposing force on the offensive line and a guy that I got going to the Bucs. Next up, we got the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos have they have a weapon there in Cortland Sutton. They have the tight end, but they need another wide receiver. You got Drew Lock with a big arm. You got to get him some talent there at the skill positions. And they're going to get probably my favorite receiver. I don't use the best, but probably my favorite receiver in this year's draft, Henry Ruggs. This guy is like lightning. He ran a 4.25 40 at his pro day in his junior year. He stands at 6 foot, 190 pounds. You're talking like Tyreek Hill type speed here. This guy is going to be a threat at the pro level. And with Drew Lock's strong arm in the thin air, you got a weapon like that, that could be dynamic. I love this pick for the Broncos. Next up, we got the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons, all their holes are they got so many holes on the defensive end, and they need consistency there. They need a strong defensive end, and that's why I got them going out there and getting A.J. Espensa out of Iowa. This guy is big. This guy is big, 6'6", 280. Just a really good all-around player, really strong, technically sound, good at identifying the run, and a player that I think will fit in very nicely for the Atlanta Falcons. He's not the best athlete. He's not going to set the edge, but he's going to be consistent. I think he's going to get you 6, 7, 8 sacks every year, and he's going to be the whole package. I do like him. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys. A team I hate, but a player I love, and a player I've had going on them for quite some time, and that is the safety Grant Delpit out of LSU. He's a hard-hitting safety, and the thing that stands out to me with Delpit, this guy is huge for a safety. He's 6'3", 203. Most safeties are like 6 foot tall, 6 foot flat. This guy is big, but he can move like the guys that are 6 feet tall. A really special talent. One of my favorite players in this draft. And unfortunately, I got him going to the Cowboys. They need some help in the secondary. Next up, we got the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, of course, already picked Tua. They have 3 picks in the first round. And they can kind of just pick wherever. They have so many holes on that team. I'm just going to have them taking a player I really like, and it's a player I've seen mocked to them in a few mocks. Kenneth Murray, linebacker out of Oklahoma, 6'2", 243. Tough run defender. Great side-to-side quickness. Regarded by many as one of the, if not the best, the second best linebacker in this year's draft. They could use some help there at that position. Man up the middle, get yourself a mic there, and Get yourself a good linebacker there in Kenneth Murray. I like the fit. Raiders now with their second pick. Obviously, they took a wide receiver with their first pick in CeeDee Lamb. Now they're going to take a guy that guards wide receivers. Trayvon Diggs out of Alabama, the cornerback. Standing at 6'2", 207. He is the brother of Stephon Diggs, the incredibly talented wide receiver out of Minnesota. Could you imagine those two going up against each other as kids growing up? But yeah, really good player. The one concern here is he suffered an ankle injury in 2018, which forced him to miss a lot of the season with Alabama. But a really good player and regarded as a lot of people as, one of the best corners in this year's draft. At number 20, obviously the Jaguars lost a very talented corner. We're going to double up at corner. We just took a corner at 19. We're going to take another one at 20, and that is C.J. Henderson out of Florida. Reportedly standing at 6'1", 191. A lot of people say he's more like 5'11", 6 foot. The one thing I read about this guy when I did research, everybody says he has great technique, great body control, very sound cornerback, perhaps the most sound cornerback in this year's draft. Attention to detail. Now, where he lacks is up at the line of scrimmage. Sometimes he gets bullied by more physical wide receivers, so he's got to work on that. But really good prospect there going to the Jaguars at number 20. Next up, we got the Eagles. Eagles could go corner. They always go offensive and defensive line in the first round, but I'm going to go wide receiver here. I think it's definitely a position of need for them. They need to help out Carson Wentz, and that's what they do. They get themselves a big-bodied, tall wide receiver in Justin Jefferson out of LSU, standing at 6'3". He's going to go up. He's going to get those 50-50 balls like Alshon Jeffrey. Jeffrey's up there in age. I believe he's a free agent. Jefferson will fill his void, and he's a really good player, and he'll fit nicely with the Eagles if they do take him. Next up, we got the Buffalo Bills, and this is probably the hardest name to pronounce. If it's not this one, it's the next guy that's drafted. But I watched a lot of film on this guy. Bills need a wide receiver. They brought in a couple last year, but I think they still need one more weapon for Josh Allen. Now, they could wait around. I didn't have them doing that. I had them taking Laviska Shenault. I think that's how it's pronounced. But regardless, I saw him play. I was really impressed with this kid, not just on the field, but off the field out of Colorado. Standing at 6'2", 220 pounds. He is tough. He's a fighter. And he just seems like a really good guy when I saw him being interviewed. A great leader for that Colorado football team. He's a quality route runner, good hands, good speed. Durability is a bit of an issue. He did sustain some injuries at the collegiate level. Next guy up, the next hard name to pronounce for the New England Patriots. And I think he fits them very well. I liked a lot of the things I read and saw on him. That's Kayvon Thiason out of LSU. Very versatile player, something that the Patriots look for. Obviously, we know that with Joe Judge coming from the Pats. They like to have those guys that could do it all, playing the 3-4-4-3, kind of like Van Noy, kind of like Jamie Collins, two guys who are free agents. I suspect they're going to lose at least one of them, if not both, to free agency. This is the type of guy who could fill in for them. They could take a quarterback for sure. Tom Brady may be leaving. I wouldn't be shocked, but I have them going with the versatile defensive end here. Next up, we've got the New Orleans Saints, and this is my fourth quarterback, and this is a quarterback, when I watch him, and I know he regressed this year, and a lot of people point to the offensive line, I really, really like Jordan Love, and I think about what Jordan Love could do with Sean Payton if they're able to get their hands on this kid, and it could be great things. He stands at 6'3", 224. He's very mobile. He's got a very strong arm. He's got everything you want in terms of characteristics in a quarterback. He regressed this year, some say due to O-line play, but I really like this kid. I really do. And I think he's a great fit for New Orleans if they do get him at 24. Next up, we got the Minnesota Vikings. And it's the same story with the Vikings every year. Last year, they get Bradbury to try to help out that offensive line. And I think he performed pretty well. But the Vikings still need help on that O-line. They have a great 53-man roster, but the O-line continues to be their Achilles heel. And that's why I'm going to have them continue to try to improve it with another first-round selection in getting Austin Jackson, the offensive tackle out of USC. We'll see if he's an immediate impact. He's not on the level of some of the guys that have already gone. He's a bit of a project. 6'6", 310, long arms, but needs to be more physical at the point of attack from what I've read. Vikings need some help on that O-line, though, and hopefully he can provide that for them. Next up, we got the Dolphins with their third selection. Dolphins obviously took a quarterback, took a linebacker. Now they're going to take a playmaker. They're going to take the first running back in this year's draft, and that is DeAndre Swift out of Georgia. He's a 3-down running back, has some explosion, definitely capable of busting it outside for big runs. could be a really good fit for Georgia. I mean, for Miami out of Georgia, staying close to home. Obviously, played at Georgia. He's going to state down in Florida. I think they need a playmaker. They could go anywhere, though. The Dolphins are such a hard team to draft for, but I saw a lot of mocks with this kid going there. I like him. I think he's a really good running back, and they could use a playmaker on that offense. Next up, the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks could go one of two ways, in my opinion. They go with an edge rusher. They go with offensive line. They need help in both areas. There's a player I really like here, and that's Gross Matos out of Penn State. Really like this guy. Not the greatest athlete, but he's much like an Spencer. He's big, he's strong, he's mean. He had a great year there for Penn State, standing at 6'5", 264. Like I said, lacks a little bit of speed, but he's a traditional 4-3 defensive end. And, I like him a lot, going there at number 27 to the Seahawks. And especially if Jadeveon Clowney moves on, which he might. Next up, we got the Baltimore Ravens, another team who may very well lose Matt Judon. They lose to Darius Smith last year. They need to fill in. They need to get more edge rushers, right? That's a defensive team. They need as many defensive players as they could get. They're going to get a similar type of player in Anthony Jennings out of Alabama, 6'2", 252. Very physical player, very powerful, much like Gross Matos. Very similar types of players. He's a little smaller in terms of weight and height, but I think a player that would fit Baltimore very nicely. And, I think he's a good pick at 28. Next up, the Titans. Everything I read about the Titans, most people feel their biggest need is an edge rusher. So I'm looking around, and I see another guy who kind of fits the mold of the last two guys selected. Strong, physical, defensive end pass rusher. And that is Curtis Weaver, a guy that a lot of Giants fans are interested in the second round. He's not going to get there in this mock. Stands at 6'3", 265 out of Boise State. He set the sack record for the most in the history of the Mountain West Conference. Much like the last two guys, not known as the best athlete, very good at diagnosing the run. Good pick there in Curtis Weaver. Next up, we got the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers, to me, every mock I see, they're going wide receiver. I did go wide receiver, but I think they could certainly use some help in the middle on defense. Teams were able to run all over them. But they definitely need another weapon for Aaron Rodgers this year. Aaron Rodgers getting up there in age. You want to help him as much as he can in his later years. You don't have a ton of weapons. Devontae Adams is really the only strong weapon there. I got him taking T. Higgins. T. Higgins out of Clemson, the tall wide receiver. I think he's 6'4". He's going to go up there. He's going to catch some of those Hail Marys that Aaron Rodgers throws. I'm sure Rodgers will do great things with him if they do get him. Next up, we got the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs are one of those teams that are really hard to draft for. I got to figure defense. They have so many weapons on offense. That's not their weakness. If they have a weakness, it's somewhere on the defense. I went with the cornerback, and we'll see if they win the Super Bowl. Maybe they'll be picking 32. But I went with the cornerback out of LSU, 6 foot, 192 pounds. He's a physical corner in Christian Fulton. So there you go. Like I said, very hard team to draft for. They don't have a lot of holes. But, if they do have holes, it's on the defensive end. And there you go. There's my Super Bowl pick because I haven't picked at 32. I got the San Francisco 49ers, who will be the defending champs, picking at number 32. And they are going to take Xavier McKinney, the safety out of Alabama, 6 foot, 197 pounds. Just a really good player. I've seen him mocked in the mid-first round. I've seen him late first round. I've seen him early second round. The Niners don't have any picks. They traded all of them away. I think their first pick after this is in the 5th round. But just a really good football player. I think he'll help their defense. He's great at handling the tight end in pass coverage, and he's a very good tackler in terms of getting after the running back. So there you go. There is the completion of my mock for all 32 teams. I'm not going to really discuss much about the second round. You guys could leave your comments below what you thought about the mock, who you would take in the second round if you're a Giant fan or any team in this mock draft. Let me know what you guys thought. I had a lot of fun doing it. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did making it. I'll have a lot more of these up of different situations, trade ups, trade downs, things like that. But my first one, I wanted to stay status quo. And right now, a draft the team needs as of now. That will change, though, in the future. As always, guys, if you like what you watch, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.